to ascend, right? Like an aliyah, right? And so he talks about like that's really the level we want to get to. We want to push ourselves spiritually, not like overdo it. You know what I mean? But we want to push ourselves spiritually. We want to push ourselves spiritually to. Uh, there we go. Anyways, yeah. So, anyways, he's saying like we want to push ourselves spiritually so we could get to these levels of like almost like like beyond an angel. And it's like, what is he talking about? Like, what are the sages? Because it's something that Ari talks about. Rabbi Isaac Lurie talks about this. There's this idea of, it's like a point where like, what is the main idea about Abraham Avinu, right? So Abraham Avinu had the ability to keep all of the Torah according to sages. So you say like, how could he do that? How could he keep the Torah? It's like there's so many laws. There's so many, rabbinical laws, there are fences. And so all these rabbinical fences, and so like, how could Abraham keep all these things, right? Because these things came over a progression of time, right? It wasn't like they just like, oh, one day the halacha existed. No, it grew every generation. So how could Abraham Avinu keep all the Torah, right? So the way is like this: the Torah itself is an expression of Abraham Avinu's thinking process, right? Like
Mhm.
the Mishnah, all these things are the things that were ingrained into his mind, right? Like ingrained in my like for example, like the whole idea of Abraham, buying a burial plot for his wife. Like, where did that come from? Like, where was this idea that he should bury his wife and bury her in like a holy place, like a place that was like sanctified? I mean, I highly doubt, that was the thinking process of his father, who was like an idol maker. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So where did he get that understanding from? Right. And that's just an insight into like how he saw the world. He was able to see a world where he could see things that were pure and impure.
Mhm.
He could see a world where certain times of the day had a more concentration of kedusha than other times of the day.
Mhm.
Right. He was able to he was plugged into the 99% reality. He could see it.
Mhm.
Right. He was totally attuned to that vibration of the energy flow of the world and what was going against it and what was going with it.
Mhm.
And so the reality is that that's us, right? Because like you have Adam before the Chet, right? Where he
Mhm.
could see all, he had access to all knowledge, this, all these things. Anyways, because the point is just to say, we're trying to get to that place where our bodies are submissive to our soul and our souls are infused with kedusha. And so we just doing mitzvahs, we're doing this, we're doing all these different things, and it's just automatic for us. It's not like something that like we have to work hard to get to this place of consciousness and this is like no, we're so we've transformed ourselves to such a degree that our bodies are naturally in line with the mitzvahs. Like
Mhm.
I know personally a couple of times like I've had experiences like this, like just moments, right? I wouldn't say like every second of my life, right? Maybe it is, you don't know, but I know there's certain times like I've like accidentally put something in my mouth to drink, and I didn't say a bracha before it, and my mouth just like spit it out,
Mhm.
like, and I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? And I was like, wow, like I didn't even like my mouth would not accept it; it would just spit it out, right?
Mhm.
And so like the little things like this, but the point is just saying we want our bodies to be attuned to it. We want to be places that if there's something that's not kosher there, that we automatically don't eat it.
Mhm.
Right? We don't even realize it. We don't say, "Oh, that's not kosher. I'm not eating it." It's just like you have no affinity towards it. You're just not eating
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
right? In images, on on social media, right, and on billboards and all these things. We want to automatically like not see it. I remember there's a famous story about this Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, who was like the big like he was like the chief rabbi, if you could say there ever was one in America. And he was, anyways, he's a unique guy. Anyways, some area in his where he taught at was like in the middle of New York somewhere, right? And and one day someone was giving like a shir about like modesty and this and protecting yourself from these images, this types of things. And anyways, so they asked Rav Moshe Feinstein, they said, like, how do you protect your eyes? From where you live to here, you have to pass so many billboards and this and all these different things. He said, how do you deal with it? And he was like, what billboards?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like he's not even here. His mind is totally consumed with Torah, trying to understand sugyas, trying to get clarity, trying to get the pashat, right? Seeing the sod, all this. Like he's occupied in different worlds, and I've noticed that about myself over the last, say, like couple years, but every day it's more and more. It's like, I mean that's where my mind's at when I'm walking down the street. My mind is in that Torah and these types of things. And it's like, and sometimes you snap out of it and you like kind of like looking around and seeing what's going on. But the more you learn, the more more like things you have in your head you got to fix, right? And by doing that work to reconciling these issues, right, that we get inside of the Torah and halacha and all these different things, blah blah blah, right? You know, you figured out, like, for example, like, the whole idea that Jacob used the stones that he did for like some type of like mechanism for him to sleep on. And then the next day he woke up and used those same stones to build an altar. Could you use those stones for two different types of things? Could you use stones that were used for this for stones of worshiping God? I don't know. But I'm saying it's a question that comes up, and there's a Gemara that talks about it. But the point is saying these are the things that we should be totally preoccupied with. We should be. Are you gonna say something now?
No, I will when you finish. I want to say something to you.
No, I'm just saying. So like just that idea of just being in that mindset as a protection shield against this world that's trying to take away our fear of God. Like every time a woman's like half dressed in front of you, and you start rationalizing some type of dynamic about her or being with her, anything like that, it removes you from the fear of God. Because the Torah explicitly says that's not the way we have relationships, right? These types of things, right? And so, but when you see that, it can weaken that. But well, it's not that bad,
right?
It's like, I mean, we don't got to be so religious. Just calm down. Everyone's doing it. We're not in the Stone Ages. We could dress like whatever. It's okay. No, it's nothing to do with that. So it's just saying, like, just being aware, and the more that we could, understand that the Torah and thinking about the Torah, that's our safety. That's all we have, because this, and then even if I look at so-called real information, right? Say I'm not looking at TikTok and silliness. Say I'm looking at real information. Okay, so all these news stories, that's real. That's what's happening. I mean, it's good to know what the rhetoric is. You know what I'm saying? Okay, this is what they're saying over here. This is what they're saying over there. But do I see it as like a reality in itself, like something to like actually like reflect upon and want to look? No, I don't. It's very superficial. I'm more interested in where they're trying to get us to think versus what the information is itself. That's how we want to look at the news. Like, what are you trying to convince me to think? What view are you trying to paint that you want my imagination and intellect to participate in by this headline, right? And it's like being able to like get in that mindset. It's like because for us, not all of us, but a lot of us, come from families that really respect academia, right? Like how many degrees you got and this and what university you went to and all that. And that really shows a mindset, right? That expresses a mindset that believes in contrived information. Because the university is just trying to produce certain types of thinkers, right? Whether they're people who are conservative, people who are liberal, people who want to work in construction, people who want to be doctors, people who want to be, retirement lawyers, whatever it is. This is what the school is designed for. And so in order to get people to become this end product, right? That means that the course curriculum in that institution has to get people to that place. That's what it means. It's not information. It's a contrived set of ideas that if you hear them enough times over a course of 4 years, you will leave with that worldview. And you come in with the vulnerability because everyone around you says you're becoming educated. You know what I'm saying? Like they're like, oh, you're getting educated. Well, why? Oh, and then you graduate, and you go on the stage, and then they have you like in this robe, and all these people in the crowd, and they say your name, and everyone's cheering for you, and they give you balloons, and you graduated from an education institution. So for us, it's a big deal because for a long time we weren't even allowed to have that perception, right? With schools and universities. So they're like, well, how could you say that? You know how hard it was for us to get in those schools? And be like, yeah, but I mean, like, look at the whole thing. And then when it comes to our history, our culture, I mean, look at it. If they lied about my history, my culture, and who I am, and intentionally left out information, you think they did that any different than white people? You don't think they entrapped them too? You don't think they entrap Hispanics?
Right.
You don't think they entrap, you know what I'm saying? Asians? Like, I mean, come on. The whole thing is to weaken everybody from culture and to make them submissive to whatever the American idea is, right? Which has their pros and cons. I'm not saying it's an all the way bad thing, right? But I'm still saying not being aware of what's happening is that. So just just a few like building thoughts, you know what I mean? Because like we got to have hashkafa. You know what I'm saying? When we say hashkafa, like we got to be like how do we look at these things? You know what I mean? How do we look at things like the news, right? And and information. Okay. All right. So last class we learned about dealing with poor people in this, and I guess the author of Hayasher, the straight line, wants us to stay on the straight line. And so he's staying on this point. He says, Sarik ha'adam lehiz hair, keshiya se suda mitzvah. So he says, when a person makes a suda mitzvah, such as a bris, an engagement party, or a bar mitzvah. So what is a suda mitzvah? So a suda is a meal, right? And a mitzvah. So what is a meal in a mitzvah? What does this thing have to do? A suda and a meal. What does that have to do with each other? I mean a suda and a mitzvah. What does that have to do with each other? So it's like this. So one of the tools that we use, as you know, but we're just saying it out loud, that one of the tools that we use to bring light into this world is a meal. Like a meal is a spiritual technology that we use. That's why you always see Jews eating meals. It's always like you see Jews together. It's like food on the table. There's whiskey. There's drinks. There's bread. There's this. There's meat. The whole thing, right? Because that tool of a suda, a meal, is a tool that allows you to do hamotzi. It allows you to recreate the altar, right? Meaning like the mishbeach, like when you hear about people creating altar, right? You hear about Yitzhak waking up and making an altar and dedicating it to, doing burning incense or whatever it was to connect to God. Or you hear about Noah doing a sacrifice with an animal, whatever it is. The point is saying that place is an altar, right? The same altar that the Kohanim used during the times of the Beis Hamikdash. Now we don't have the Beis Hamikdash, so now that's transferred over to every household, right? So the table itself is reflective of an altar, and the food that you put on that table is in the frame of a korban, as a sacrifice. So the same way they would cut up the meat and that whole thing and fry it, whatever, burn it, that whole thing, that same way, and they would eat it, right? And they would eat it amongst each other, right? And they would sometimes even invite friends, depending on what the korban was, right? So the meal itself is the same exact thing. Anytime Jews come together, more than like 3 Jews, and they're able to sit down and eat, it's a huge concept, right? Because they get to do Birkat Hamazon together, and they're going to do Zimun, all these types of things. So the point is just saying that so the meal itself is that, and that's why the salt with the bread, when you're doing hamotzi, the salt is important because we use the salt on the mishbeach, right? So you're literally recreating that experience of the priest, the high priest, putting the korban on the mishbeach for the whole entire world, right? And that's what Shabbos is. That's what, if there's someone has an engagement party or like here a bris, a circumcision, or marriage, or anything. Someone just had a child, whatever is holy. It's just an excuse. Like some people hold the month of Kislev. Like I have friends who are like really like Chabad, and so they hold during this month that every night you should party. That's how high the energy is of this month. That you every night you should have a simcha. You should be doing. So I know people are doing like I don't know if they're doing like Mondays and Thursdays or something like this. They're doing like nighttime. They call for bring-ins where everyone comes together and they have drinks and they sing songs and give over stories and Devar Torah and that, you know what I mean? So that's it. I mean, I'm living in this reality. You know what I mean? Like that's just my mindset, right? And so anyway, so that's what we're talking about here, right? When you have one of these types of events, and it says it is important to see that the poor and the needy are among the invitees that are well taken care of. Wow, this is connected to what we said last time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he says, if a person makes a simcha for his son or his daughter, but fails to invite the poor, the wicked Lilith and the Samik Mim bring indictments against him in the heavenly court until he is besieged by affliction. So you hear that. So like if you have a Suda's mitzvah, like when you and your wife have your first kid, hey, when you guys announce like really when they do the baby revealing, that really should be a Suda's mitzvah, right? Like people come together, they give hamotzi, they bring gifts, they sing songs, they give over words of Torah, they give brachot to the wife. But the way that we have it in the secular world, it's all gaiva. You know what I mean? We got this, a baby blue. Yeah, I got my boy coming in. I got a daughter. I'm happy. I'm sad. Yeah, this. What am I gonna wear? Blah blah blah. We're gonna do. You know what I mean? But it's no clue. But it could easily be changed. That same baby reveal with our perspective, right? The perspective of the sages, right? That perspective, they could turn that into a holy time where they come and they do a blessing over bread, and people come together and they understand the power of giving a tzedakah to support that new baby and support that family, and how they're part of all the mitzvahs that come out of that because of that. Anytime you give money, or time or any form of charity to a particular effort, you receive mitzvahs from what's being created. So like if like for example, there's like families that are going to keep Shabbat and we want to support them, right? In the future, we receive mitzvahs for them doing, even attempting, even if they don't do everything right. You know what I mean? Anyways, so he's saying that if you're going to do one of these things, if you don't invite someone poor, you get the wicked Lilith and the Samik Mim bring indictment against him in the heavenly court until he is besieged by affliction. Kedi ita be mi midrash. Sorry, he says written in the midrash Rabbah. And so he's saying that the midrash. He says the midrash tells us, for example, that this is what happened to Abraham because he did not invite any poor people to the feast that he made upon Yitzhak's weaning, commenting on the verse and all these matters. The Midrash explains that it is in response to the Satan's indictment of the Holy One, blessed be, subsequent commanded Abraham, take your son now, your only son, and offer him for a burnt offering. So they're saying that he says in the Midrash Rabbah, he's saying it says in the Midrash Rabbah that because Abraham didn't invite any poor people to his son's bris milah, or his weaning, as he said, that the Satan went up and said, see, blah, 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 blah. It went basically snitching, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it snitched on Abraham, and then it brought God's judgment, and then they said the next thing that happened was God told him to take Yitzhak. Also, so it must have been later. It said, and then to take Yitzhak to make him a burnt offering. You hear the point of that?
Mm-hmm.
Vekina matzinu atzel Yov sha'a suuda me'ima benav. So he says, similar when Yoav made a feast for his children, which no poor people invited, which no people were invited. The Satan was when no poor people invited. The Satan was given permission to kill all of his sons and daughters, and to deprive him of his wealth and livestock as well. Jeez. Yet even this is not sufficient to satisfy how Satan, until he is allowed to afflict Yov's person. Al ken isri Baal Sauda lehiz min. Aniyam. So he says, Lesuda. He says, so therefore, whoever holds a feast should be sure to invite a poor person so that the accuser will have nothing to say against him. Moreover, he will actually be transformed into an advocate. Thus, the Midrash Tanakama relates the following story. Be'adam asir achad. He says, a certain wealthy and learned man whose only daughter was beautiful as she was modest and pleasant. The father betrothed her 3 times and to 3 different suitors. So she was engaged 3 different times to 3 different guys. In each case, the groom was found dead the morning after the wedding. Dang. Right? So he says, Amra ha'alamana lo ye utu od bene adam alai. So he says, at last, the widow proclaimed, "Let no more men die on my account. I will remain lonely widow from now into the Holy One, blessed be He, has had mercy upon me." And so she remained single for many years. Vehaya leoto astir et ani beyoter b'midina acharat. So he says, and now it happened that this wealthy man had a brother living in a country who was extremely poor. He had 10 sons, and every day he and his modest sons would bring back wood from the forest to sell in order to maintain his household. One day they were unable to sell wood, and they brought and consequently had no money which to buy bread. They might that night they went to bed hungry. The next morning they went again to the forest to fetch wood for sale, but the father fainted along the way. The son's eyes brimmed in tears over the father's poverty, and he raised his own eyes to heaven. They yehir heben levito, sorry, lebibo venatal rishut ma'avi vehalek lima di nat dodo. So he says, and after considering the situation, he asked his father for permission to go and visit his uncle. Upon arrival to his uncle's home, the uncle and his wife and their widowed daughter all rejoiced to see him, and he inquired about the well-being of his parents and siblings. He remained for 7 days, at the end of which he asked his uncle, I make a request, and I beg you not to turn me down. His uncle replied, my son, ask whatever you desire. The son said, I will not ask for anything until you swear that you will not refuse me. And the uncle complied. The son continued, my request is that you give me your widowed daughter in marriage. Becha. אמר לו, בני כי בעזונותינו והרבים כך midata. So he's saying, upon hearing the request, my uncle began to wail, please not, my son, I beg you, do not make this request. For on account of her many sins, whomever marries my daughter dies after the first night. But the son insisted, it is full knowledge of this that I am asking to marry her. The uncle told him, if it is money that you're after, do not marry her. I will help you upon silver and gold. For you are a pleasant and wise man, and I do not wish to endanger your life. And the son was amid. He says, you have already sworn to me. Shara Dodo, Asir Bebe Davar, Tina Salo Uvena Lebito, Vesifer La, at Hadivrin. So he says, when the uncle saw that the young man would not yield, he went to inform his daughter. Upon hearing the news, she too began weeping bitterly and cried out, Master of the universe, take my life and do not kill this young man. Oh my God, this is such a dramatic scene. Ve'akarem zaman kasar kidashta habakur le ha'ale manan ve'akaram aviha dodo shala ve'achatan. So he says, but a short time later, the two were brothel. So they were married. The father and the bride, who also the father of the bride, who's also the groom's uncle, invited all the elders of the city to the wedding. They created a canopy for the groom to sit at the wedding. While he was sitting there, Eliyahu Navi arrived in disguise as an elderly man. Wow, it's getting better. This is like a sci-fi movie. Kara Marlo Vehachatan Beni, and he says, and he called over the katan. He called the groom over to him and told him, my son, I'm going to give you some good advice, and I warn you not to deviate from it. Today, while you're sitting at your feast, a poor man will come to you. He will appear to you. He will appear to you the most wretched individual in the world. As soon as you see him, you must rise and give him a place and seat him beside you, and give him to eat and drink and wait upon him with all your might and all of your personal attention. When he finished speaking, the old man turned and left. ובלילה הראשונה של הנישואין דבקש היה החתן יושב בראש הקרואים. So he says, in that night of the wedding he said when he brought them before they were engaged. And so this is the night of the wedding, right? The night of the wedding, the groom was sitting at the head of all of his guests when when the beggar entered. The moment the groom noticed, he stood up and sat the beggar in his own place, and obeying all the instructions that Eliyahu told him. So he says, and the feast was over. The groom entered the chamber, and the beggar went in after him. My son, he said, I am a messenger from the omnipresent, and I have come to take your soul. This is what the beggar's saying. Okay, wow. He says, Amar lo ha katan. And the katan said to him, Tenli, Zaman shana achat, or chatsi shana. And he said, please grant me a year or even a half a year. The beggar said, no, I will not do as you ask. Grant me 30 days, he pleaded. I will not, said the beggar, whom the groom now knew to be the angel of death. Grant me until the end of the 7 days of fasting. No, no shiver brachot, said the angel of death. I cannot do you the kindness of granting me a simple day because of because your time has come. Amarli Hakatan, and Katan said to him, he says, Tenli reshut. All right, so let me go. He says, and the groom said, in the groom made one last request. Allow me to leave, allow me to take leave of my wife and my uncle, who is my father-in-law. Then the angel of death said, I will grant you this because you acted kind towards me, but quickly. خلق hatatan alecha dir sheikhala shevet shama yehida uvecha umidpalat alecha kadosh baruch hu. So he says, so the groom, he goes into the chamber where the bride was at. She was sitting alone and crying and praying to God, the Holy One, blessed be. When the groom came in and called her, she arose and opened the door. She clasped his hand and kissed him and said, "Why have you come to me alone?" Amar la kakatan. The katan says, "Lecha rishut me vibet." So he said, the groom answers, "I have come to take leave of you because my time has come to go in the way of all the earth. The angel of death appeared to me and told me that he has come for my soul." And the bride says, "Do not leave. Sit here while I'll go and I will speak to him." So she went to the angel of death and said to him, "Are you the emissary that comes for my husband's soul?" "Yes," he acknowledged. Amara lo halo katuba be Torah ki yachak ish isa lo v'hakacha. Lo, Yitzhak, Bet Sava. So he says, it is not, but it is not written in the Torah. So anyway, so this is go back a little bit. So the bride said, "Do not go." Blah blah blah. She went to the angel of death. She walks in. The angel is there standing right in front of her. Imagine how brave she is. How much she loves her husband. How much dedicated. She's just willing to walk in front of the angel of death. She says to him, "Are you the emissary that's come to take my husband's soul?" Right. Jewish one, right? She's like, yes, yes, I am acknowledged. She said, but it's not written in the Torah. She said, but it is not written in the Torah. When man takes a new wife, he shall not go out to the army, nor shall he go to any task. He shall be set free for his household for an entire year and cause his wife, whom he has taken, rejoice. The Holy One, blessed be He. He says in Devarim, the Holy One, blessed be He, is a God of truth, and His Torah and is the Torah of truth. But if you take the soul of my husband, now the Torah will appear to be false. Heaven forbid. So this is pausing this for a second. When a woman is willing to go in front of the angel of death and defend you, it's got pause on that, man. And the thing is, maybe we can learn something out that her prior 3 husbands all died, but she didn't do this. She didn't do this. So maybe this is the idea of a woman being married to a man, and what a marriage means is that she's going to go and talk to the angel of death on his behalf. Mutav ve'im lav ve'imadi lifnei bedin hagadol. He says, if you heed my words, be good and well. But if not, I summons you to a din Torah. in the heavenly courts. She's demanding a base din on this. She said, you can't go against the Torah. Shema hamlech ve'amar la bishvil she'a ve'alek imadi hesed. Hesed. Ve'ute vekived oti lezot. He says, and the angel listened to him, and the angel listened and said, because your husband was acted kind to me, because your husband acted kind to me, acted with kindness towards the meal and honor me, I will grant your request and I will bring your case before the Holy One, blessed be He. So the angels went up before the Holy One, blessed be He, and in a blink of an eye, he returned rejoicing. The Holy One, blessed be He, has granted the groom his life and explains in the merit of his kindness towards the beggar. Does this guy know what he's doing? He wrote this text. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This guy knows what he's doing. He's breaking this down every day. Vekol halayla hazeh avi ha ve'ima havu ve'holikina sevivot hachader. So he says, and all night the bride's father and mother wandered around the house of the bride chambers, listening to the voices of the bride and the groom rejoicing. In the morning they entered the room and saw that they were all both safe and sound, and they all rejoiced together. And then they revealed the matter of the entire community, and they offered words of praise and thanks for the Holy One, blessed be He. And this is a story as it's related in the Midrash, and it was all because of the groom's display of loving kindness towards the poor. V'kin sarik ha'adam lehazicher levilit leharot panav. So he says, and therefore a person must be weary of never showing a stern a certain like you should never be cold, never be stern towards anyone who's needy who comes to this door. And one must be especially careful not to lower gazes at those who come to partake in the Suda mitzvah. Somebody just shows up at your house, let them in. Let them in. You don't know who that is. You don't know what type of din that's removing from your house. Let them in. If he gets wild, he could take them out of there. But let them in. For by shaming the poor, one brings great misfortune. Lakin lo yitz ta'erb ha'adam. You know what's funny? So at my wedding, this random guy just showed up. Random guy showed up, and Rabbi Pinchas and them were there, and he told Zohar and all these things. He said, "You see that guy over there? Run over there right now. Give him food. Right now. Give it to him right now. Go." And I was like, and I'm just like busy, taking pictures, talking to people, and I just saw him just do that whole thing, and now I'm like seeing this right now.
Mm-hmm. Eliyahu was there. Oh,
bro,
that's crazy.
I'm just saying, bro, that wedding was popping, bro.
Yeah.
So let's keep going. Okay, so he says, and let those not be concerned if he must add a little cost to the fee on their account, because their presence is an atonement for him. Thus the illustration of the Marba Habayit writes in this Tamid mitzvot. So he says, hey, you know what? If you got to spend a little bit extra money on Shabbat or on a Yom Tov or whatever to help, someone in need, don't even worry about it. God got you, right? And he says, To elet gadol ale hasauda bame bame. So he says, and there's a great benefit to the host of the feast. In the eating of the poor, they are invited to participate. This is completely it's a common word, I just can't say it right now. This is completely exactly like the case of a sacrifice in which the Kohanim eat and the owners receive atonement. Ah, so he's saying like he says like in the same way that someone brings a carbon to the temple, right? Remember back to that same concept, the tables of Mishbeach.
Mm.
So when he's saying when someone comes with the korban, when someone comes with the korban, the Kohanim puts it on the table and they eat and they eat it. He said, but the person who brought the food is atoned,
Mm.
right? Even though they're not the one eating it. He said, so it's the same thing when someone comes to your house that's in need or you have an event. Like they always say, like if someone shows up at your house on Pesach, let them in.
Mm.
Let them in. You know, on places even like times that like even times like Sukkot, you know, it's like celebrate. Anyways, okay, so that's where we are over there. Thoughts, reflections.
Uh, Man, I got a few, but I think it might be like because I'm trying to get, you know how they say you should answer, you know, questions in the order that they're asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
So like, all right, so starting from the Baruch Hashem, I hope I don't lose my train of thought. But going back to it, the very first thing you guys said, you were talking about before we started this chapter, in the terms of like the mentality, right? It kind of goes back to the leadership, and like how did Abraham Avinu, how was he able to keep the Torah and just going through like his mindset, right? So I was gonna ask you a question, in this week's portion with Yaakov Avinu, when he's laying on the ground, he's sleeping, and Hashem, shows him the dream, and he shows him like it says that he folds up the land, and he pretty much like puts it under his head in a sense. So like you can overtake this entire land just this easy, right? So I'm reading that and I'm like, okay, he folded up the land and put it under his head in this dream. And that goes into like the mindset that we're supposed to have. Like our thought process permeates throughout the entire land, which is the will of Hashem. If we have the right mindset, that's how we matriculate to our communities and build up the structures of Kedusha. So it's like we were talking yesterday about the leaders, like how important leadership is. And we're going through like, civil rights movement. And we've had many, amazing movements in America, for Black people, for African Americans, but it's never reached the level of, satisfaction in the sense of, removing us from oppression or, elevating us from our social constructs or whatever. And it's probably because it's, we're from the seed of Abraham. Like we have to keep Torah. And it's like Hashem allows us to, ascend to these great heights against all odds and fall short every time, as like kind of letting us know, like, hey, kind of even in the sense what we're talking about with the three, when she was betrothed 3 times and each one passed away. It's like you have to do this mitzvah of giving to the poor. Once you do this, boom, you're fine. So it's like for African Americans, like yeah, we've had quote unquote success, but until we connect ourselves to the Torah, we're never going to reach our potential. Like, we're never
And,
going to get there.
and the thing is, we'll never be free.
Right, right. So that was the first point. So then you were talking about how and this kind of this is Baruch Hashem, how you do like if you put some water in your mouth and you answer the broccoli, you spit it out. It's things like that. I've been kind of waiting to talk to you about this in a sense because in my life I've noticed like if I do something that's not aligned with Torah, I get like an instant malkut, like I get a lash. You know what I mean? Like it can be stuff off like, and I can tell that's what it is because as soon as I do it, like I have some type of affliction. And it's like, well, what is this? Like I have a pain somewhere that wasn't there. You know what I mean? Or I have like a hair bump or rise, you know what I'm saying? It's like painful. And I'm like, what's going on? Like it could be any mode. Like I've learned to realize that it could be any mode of affliction. But then when I tell Hashem, like, I show myself with gratitude, thank you. Thank you for caring enough about me to correct me. It goes away. Rob, I mean, it happens. It's gotten to the point now where it doesn't. At first, I was like, "Whoa," but now I'm like, "Okay, look, Hashem." You know what I mean? Like if I don't, like you were saying, like the Rav, he'll walk. You look at what billboards, you don't even see them, right? I've noticed like if I allow my eyes, if I don't guard my eyes or something, whatever Torah concept I was thinking about, it's gone,
Mm.
gone. I'm like, bro, or I feel completely disconnected. Like if I'm not staying in a like in purity, I can't even talk Torah almost at all.
Yeah.
But when I'm in purity, I can like, you know what I mean? It's like boom, I'm flowing. Is I'm able to reach here. I'm able to dig, pull this insight. But if I'm not, it's like I can't even do it. So that was the second thing I was thinking about when you said, um, and he brought up the Yesahara, like in it, like how the Yesahara was like, hey, that woman, whatever, it's not that bad. That's so interesting because in Better Sheet 2:7 was talking about the Yesahara and how you have the two U's and Hashem's alluding, letting us know that we have a Yesah Tov and Yesahara. The Yesahara is so intimate with you because it's with you from birth. It's waiting on you. You know what I mean? So it knows you so intimately. And without the proper, thought process, going back to it, like my first point, like if you have that mindset of Kedusha at all times, the Yesahara is no longer an adversary whatsoever. It's actually, a positive force to bring you closer to Hashem. It's almost like, okay, Hashem, I want to really work on my anger. All right, Hashem's like, all right, my son, I got you, Baruch Hashem. And then here comes the Yesahara testing you. Instead of looking at like, oh, the Yesahara, every time it's testing. No, it's like, no, you asked to work on your anger. Now the Yesahara is being a positive force. It's being your slave in a sense to help you overcome this. That's going to bring you to a Baraka. So it's like the Yesahara, or like in Christianity, we talk about, Satan and the devil's doing this. And it's like they create a dichotomy where it's like there's duality in a sense. And it's like, no, 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 no. There is no duality. The the Yesahara, the Satan serves Hashem. Just like it serves Hashem, it serves you if you use it correctly with a proper dot. So now when you need something, the Yesahara, it works with so much quickness. So much quickness. It's always here to destroy you. No, you ask for that. It's the pathway to help you get there by allowing you to overcome. And I was kind of thinking, like, even with Avraham Avinu, it was saying that, what we were talking about with Avraham Avinu, because he didn't make he didn't invite the poor people to the feast. The Satan was able to test him, go to Shemaim, hey, Hashem, look, now you have that Akeda. But in reality, though, that what seemed to be a negative force actually brought Avraham Avinu to the Brakas. It brought it to Bnei Israel, all the tests. He went through that test. He overcomes it, and what comes out as a great Braka. So the Yesahara has a very important role if we utilize it correctly. Um, and then we were talking about education so with education, I was thinking about this with education and with uh like us doing baby showers and stuff. It's so interesting because I feel like Hashem just created like the structures for us to return back to Torah so easily when it's time. Because just like we care about education so much, African Americans, and we can understand the dynamics of it, but in reality, it's like, do we care about education so much because we're supposed to be in the base midrash, we're supposed to be in the house of study, we're supposed to be studying Torah all day long. So Hashem's given us this framework already. Like education matters so much. We strive for it. You gotta be educated. You gotta be educated. You gotta be educated. Even though what is the education? But reality is just preparing us for when we get back into our true pace. And it's like, yeah, you care about education so much already. I've already ingrained that in you. It's easy to step into the Torah. It's easy to step into learning 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day. It's nothing. It's easy to strive for. You want PhDs and a master's and all that. Become a rabbi. Become a. You know what I'm saying? It's an easy structure. Um, then the rest, I got other points, but I'll bring them up later. But like that's even with this chapter right here, with the wife, it gave me goosebumps. Not necessarily, well, for one, she stood up against the angel of death, which is crazy. Like, who does that, dude? Like, your life can be taken. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? But it's
I fell in love with this one now.
man, it gave me goosebumps. I'm like, hold up, but it's the fact that she spoke Torah. Like, that's what gave her the footing. Oh yeah, you got courage. That's great. But you step in this space, hey, this ain't no game. What you talking about?
Yeah, it shows the power of a Torah woman. She can remove the angel of death from her house.
Boom, boom, just like that. You know what I mean? So powerful, man. Powerful. That's all I had to say, Rob. That's powerful.
Yeah, that sure. I low key shed a tear on that.
Man, hey, Rob, I be,
I shed a tear on that. I ain't gonna lie, dog. A couple of drops came out on that, man. I was
hey,
touched, man. I
Rob,
was like, man.
I be all that, man. Hey, Rob, I be getting so emotional. Like, I'm not an emotional person. Like, I am in a sense, but like, I've noticed, like, when I'm reading Torah or like if I'm listening to, you know what I'm saying, songs like that or Torah, anything in Kedusha, man, I shed some tears, dude. Like, you'll probably see we start talking, like, I'll start crying in our learning because it's not because I'm sad. It's just, I really don't know how to explain it. I just be so, like, infused, I guess. I don't know. I be feeling the energy, I guess.
Well, but how much merit do we have that we have the ability to learn this wisdom that was, written like 1600s, but there was
Right.
someone who loved his fellow Jews so much,
Mm-hmm.
and was trying to like give them chizuk, and God was using them as a channel to give
Mm-hmm.
these words. This is like unbelievable. But I can't believe. But I ask people, have you learned the Sefer Hayasher? And people are like, I've heard of it, but it's like I haven't met so many people who like learn. This is like an unbelievable Sefer. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this is a Sefer that should really be a big part of what we do in North America, because
Mm-hmm.
it's written in a Western way. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? A lot of the other stuff that is from the East is probably much deeper in certain ways, but the way it's written and the gematrias and all that, it's like you have to be at a very high level to appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it's very straightforward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like if you have an imagination, you got it, right? Anyways, uh, Bived Sheni. All right, so you're saying that the second Sheni, second house. Okay, so we're getting ready now. We skipped a little bit in the Shulchan Aruch because it's important to understand that like one of the biggest things that I learned as getting married and just having a home is it's your responsibility to start preparing your house for the holidays. Your wife's going to do stuff, right? She's going to do whatever the structure is, right? But as a guy, not saying with the wife, but as a guy, preparing the house is preparing yourself. So learning what are the main Yom Tovim of every month, if there is one, if there's a fast day, if there is certain death anniversaries, yard sites, that is the key in bringing that light into the house. Like we have Hanukkah coming up, and this and blah blah blah, and here's the story of it, and this, because women they forget, they don't forget what you do, but they will forget information. You know what I'm saying? Like it's an amazing thing. It's like you can remember exactly what I did and said on this day, but I gave you simple instructions to go and do this at the store. You can't do it. Okay, fine, I understand, I get it. So, right. So the point is
Yeah.
just saying. So the point is just saying it's amazing, right? But the point is just saying that. So every year you have to re-educate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And build off of it. So the bigger of an understanding you have, right? The bigger of an understanding you have, the more you'll be able to express new details all the time. And the more details that you give over to your wife, you leave an imprint on her soul, right? Because you're just bringing her light, Kedusha, right? And so by the time you get to the holiday, her soul will be filled with light, right? And it's not like you have to teach it. It's just even the energy you have. A lot of the Torah that you learn, your wife will learn it, receive it just by being intimate with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll just know stuff. You ask them questions, they'll just know. And you're like, how'd you know that? All right. So okay, so we're gonna do a little bit. We're gonna do it's a lot of halakot for Hanukkah. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with kind of like this introduction today. We're not going to go through all the halakot because I want us to go back into the Gemara tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
and then learn the Gemara on it. Wait, not tomorrow. Is tomorrow Friday?
Yes.
All right, so not tomorrow, so Sunday, right? Got Bavat Hashem, right? The Bavat Hashem will start on Sunday. We'll start going into the Gemara and see how the Gemara is speaking about Hanukkah and how it builds out the idea and the questions and how to get to understand this. Because what we're reading now is this is the introduction, but the halakha is the end result of all these discussions, right? So one of the things that we learn in yeshiva is how the process from the pasuk in the Torah to it making its way into the Mishnayot, right? And then and how that Mishnayot, whether it's the pasuk itself or something that explains the pasuk, whatever it is in this Mishnah. And then from this Mishnah, there's a discussion, which is the Gemara. And then there's rabbis who discuss the Gemara as it relates to the Mishnah, and they're called the Rishonim, right? Like the Rashi, the Tosfos, all these types of people. And then later generations, the Achronim, right? These are the rabbis who pretty much compiled, the Shulchan Aruch, like Yosef Kral and these types of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want to see the whole process, the whole vacuum, the whole process of the pasuk into our life to act it out, right? And then so that's how we build this relationship with the halakha. The halakha is on its own is a rule. Okay, very good. But when you see how it's a weaved connection all the way through the pasuk of the Torah, all the way through Mount Sinai, right? Through directly to God, now you can see that this halakha is leading you back to Hashem.
Mm-hmm.
It's an expression of Hashem. Hashem gives us the ability through the Torah to intellectually contemplate God, to emotionally connect to God through praying and prayer and praise, and then also physically to act out God's will, doing the halakha. Like he gives us that ability. Like we are acting out God's will with the halakha.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding where that came from and building a relationship with it. Not like, oh, I got a set of rules, I got to do this, I can't do this. No, that's like the way to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
Every halakha is an expression of a pasuk in the Torah, whether it was derived from, even the ones that are derived of common sense, right? Or it was through it being explicitly said or being able to be understood through the coded system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that coded system still is based off of the pasuk in the Torah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you got another opinion? You know what I mean? You got another way you want to express this halakha? You got another system to do it? Okay, show me. I'm open.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But if you can't mess with that, if you can't even compete on that level, quiet, please. You have no
Right.
other way to express the Torah.
I
None.
had, it's kind of similar to that. One of my close friends, I've mentioned him before. He like it's one of my friends when we were having a conversation. He was like, it's a guy that you learn with Shiva with, but you had to kind of distance yourself from him, because he wasn't. Right. So, and I had brought up my friend, so I haven't talked to him in a while. He, we kind of start chopping up again. He wished me happy birthday, whatever. So we started talking a little bit, and like he's really into Kabbalah, right? Like, and he was trying to like explain, like he's giving me like a drash almost, like he's breaking stuff down the way. So I'm like, all right, I'm like, hey bro, what's your sources? Like this is interesting. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I hear you talking about the Sefer Road. I hear these things, but I'm like, where's your source? Like he's bringing up Pasu. So I'm like, bro, this is amazing. Like, what's your sources? And he couldn't give me none. I'm like, bro, you have to be able to give me sources. You have to be able to give sources. Like you can't. And maybe I'm wrong, Rob. You could tell me. I'm like, yeah, you can have your own thought, but there's somewhere you have to glean it from. You know what I mean? Or and am I wrong in that? Or because I wanted to ask you this because I'm like, bro, we gotta have sources, bro. Like you can build out your own thought, but you have to start from somewhere. You can't just this is what this means. It means this. Like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Then you're talking Kabbalah. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So what do you think about that, Rob?
Yeah, I mean, but
Mm.
I think sometimes with certain people, it's more humbling for them that when you give them the source of where that idea comes from.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because then it's like now you're demonstrating like mastery, and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, you could stay over there, because this is the way the Christians do it like this. Well, you don't understand what I'm saying because I got the spirit.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
He's like,
Rob,
I'm like,
Rob,
Doc,
he
so
said
where'd you
something
get
like that too.
huh?
I was like, bro.
Bro, I be asking these guys like I'd be asking like I'd be like, so where'd you get that from? Like what like
Right.
where'd you get? He says you don't understand what I'm saying because you ain't got the spirit with you.
Rob, he hit me with that. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, but bro, I'm like, dude. All right, I'm like, all right, whatever.
I'm just saying it's just like it's a thing. I mean, it's like it's very ego. It's very
Yeah,
ASAP. It's very
yeah,
ASAP, right?
yeah.
And it's like I I want to read the Torah and I want to say, but really that's the difference between a really truly a Gentile in Israel, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
because Israel understands that there's a Masurah. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole. That's the whole point of the Torah. That there is a lineage. We don't come and just the Christians. They just came and created a new. They say, hey, you know what? We not in this first book, so we gonna make a new one,
Yeah.
and we up in this.
This what it means, baby. Y'all didn't have the info. Y'all didn't have the knowledge. We got it. It's like, hold on, what's going on?
They straight make their own book, dog. We say, hey man, we ain't up in there. Ain't no
Yeah,
way we could figure out how to write ourselves in it. So we
feel
gonna
me.
come up with a new one. Anyways, with that being said, with that being said, now we're getting on Hanukkah, right?
Mm,
And so the job is to prepare your house, yourself for Hanukkah. Start thinking about Hanukkah. Start thinking about what the Kedusha is, knowing the basic level, knowing the overall story,
mm,
knowing how they came to, and knowing how they came to the conclusions of the halakha, seeing the
mm,
conversations and how they built out, and also learning the Kabbalah.
mm,
All these things have to be understood going into Hanukkah.
mm,
You got to know the halakha. You got to know the story. You got to know the discussions around the halakha, how you can see it this way versus that way,
mm,
right? And which way you're going to decide to do. What's the way that your rabbis do it? Okay, but you still need to know everything.
mm,
Some people are like, oh, well, my rabbi does like this. Okay, very nice, very nice. He does like this. But are you looking at the system of how God manifests light at this time of the year through this particular Yom Tov?
mm,
Because that's what we're talking about here. We're not here to be obedient servants. Yes, you have a Rav, so you go a particular way. But how does he hold? Why does he hold that way?
mm,
What's going on? What is the mechanism he's drawing from that says, I'm doing like this?
mm,
Right? And so
mm,
that's loving God, right? Because I want to know God's will, and I can only understand it through his attributes. And there's people that he's dignified as teachers, as rabbis, as people that, have a way, right?
mm,
And so that that's the idea, right? So we want to be totally clear on the holiday, and I'm telling you, it's a whole nother reality once you get into it. And I know you know this, but we're gonna go even further this year.
mm,
So okay, so we're gonna start with a little bit of the overall idea, and we're gonna jump around. We're gonna be experts on Hanukkah very soon. All right. So it says during the era of the second base of Mikdash, when the Greeks was in power, they imposed the evil decree against the Jews, designed to end their religion. They did not permit them to study the Torah or to perform mitzvot. They plundered their property, abducted their daughters, entered the temple, violating the sanctity and defiling its purity. Israel was in great disarray because of them, for they oppressed them bitterly, until the God of our father took pity on them and delivered them from their domination. The source, the rescue, and rescued them. The Hashmonaims, the sons of the Kohen Gadol, defeated and killed them and delivered Am Israel from their dominion. They appointed they appointed as a king one of the Kohanim, and the kingdom of Israel returned to power and endured for more than 200 years until the second base of Mikdash was destroyed. Wait, hold on, let me understand this. During the era of the second, during the era, okay. So I guess we explain it. Okay, so he says, and they appointed the king as a Kohanim, and he was in charge for another 200 years until the destruction of the second basic Mikdash, where it's kind of it's kind of weird. Anyways, when Israel triumphed over their enemies and killed them, this happened on the 25th of Kislev. So Israel, they triumphed over their enemies of Kislev. So this is a very important point, right? It's a very, very important point. So 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 for example, in the Torah, in the Midrashim, when it talks about Pesach, right? It gives many different accounts of Pesach before the Jews left Mitzrayim, right? It talks about Pesach during it talks about Pesach during um it talks about Pesach during jeez. It talks about Pesach it talks about Pesach during the Karbonos of Cain and Hevel, right? It talks about it there that was Pesach. It talks about Yitzhak being born on Pesach, I think it was. That Abraham, and the angels with the matzah by Lot with Pesach. All these things happen Pesach. The point is saying the light of this energy, we calling it Pesach. Why do we call this light Pesach? Because as a national experience, we gave it the name Pesach because of Pesach, because God passed over the houses of the Jews that had the blood on their doorstep, their doorpost, right? And some people, it's Chag Matzot, right? So that's that time frame. That's the 15th, 14th of Elul, right? That's what it is. And so the way we understand it, right? The way that we understand it, right? The way that we understand it is understanding that that light was manifest in the aspect of Exodus, but it was manifest in many other ways throughout history that were huge to building the Jewish people to who they were. So when we hear about things that happen, this ain't like secular kite. Secular kite is like, hey, 4th of July, Independence Day, whatever the day Christmas is. I mean, whatever day Thanksgiving is, that day. Whatever day Memorial Day is that day, and it's based off of the event. Our days are openings in the cosmos that have existed throughout history since the beginning of time. All lights originated in the beginning of creation, and people have connected to different lights, but they weren't revealed in terms of the Torah and the national experience. Or when I say Torah, the Jewish people, it was light. Certain lights were revealed, and certain times were revealed through different experiences. But that light already exists. So when you hear about us having a time where we were able to destroy our enemies, it's not just saying like because we were able to destroy enemies, like Mike Tyson fighting, the guy on this date, and so therefore he won on this date, and because he won on this date, we celebrate. No, rather, the fact that they won on this date is explaining to a light that was coming from the heavens that they tapped into that gave them the superpowers to defeat their enemies, and so that same light exists today. Right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that's all of the Torah holidays. All the names of the holidays, most of those names were created in Babylon, right? Tishri, Elul, Kislev, Cheshvan, all these names were in Babylon. Why? Because the sages of that time wanted to emphasize the different powers that exist in these months, right? And so from there they told stories because there was a masura of the different influence, the different things that happened in Nisan, the different things that happened in ER, the different things that happened in Sivan, right? All these things the things that happen in Tammuz, all these things that they're all connections to different issues. And then when they came back into Eretz Israel, right before the building of the second temple, they kept those names because those names were a reminder of how they were redeemed even from Babylon. So if they would be redeemed from Babylon, they were going to be redeemed all the time, no matter what. So he says when Israel triumphed over their so when Israel triumphed over the enemies, this happened on the 25th of Kislev. They entered the base of Mikdash and they found pure oil on in the base of Mikdash. They found it only in one jar. That was stamped with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. This oil was sufficient to burn only for one day, but it lit the light of the menorah with it, and it lasted for 8 days until they crushed olives and extract pure oil. For this region, the sages of the generation ordained that these 8 days, beginning on the 25th of Kislev, should be days of rejoicing, and we kindle the lights in the evening near the entrance of the house during these 8 days in order to display the revealed miracle. These days are called Chanukah, which means a contrast of Chanu, Haifa, Chanu and Chanu, Cha, and Hey. All right, Chanu, Cha, Hey. Okay. Oh wow, interesting. So he says Chanukah. So he says Chanu right? It says Chanu is a contrast of Chanu, Kuf and Hay. So Kuf and Hay has a gematria of 25. For on the 25th of Kislev, they restored from their enemies. Another reason for the name Chanukah is during these days they dedicated the base of Mikdash, Chanukah Abayit, right? That had been defiled from the oppressors. So it's Chanukah Abayit, and then that's two. They're giving two explanations why we call it Chanukah. They said one has to do with the fact that the name itself is Chanu Kaf and Hay, is a contrast of Chanukah. So Chanukah is Kaf and Hay. I'm not exactly fully understanding that. Kaf and Hay, and he says, and then he says, and they have the gematria of 25. And he says another reason why it's called Hanukkah. He said because they dedicate the Harabayit. They dedicate the base of Mikdash, Hanukkah Bayit. That's a Hanukkah Bayit is when you have a house, and you in essence like the day they dedicated the base of Mikdash, that was defiled. So they dedicated it back to Hashem. So you dedicate your house back to Hashem like you would do in your own house. And so he says, some authorities say, therefore, it is a mitzvah to somewhat embellish the meal on Hanukkah. Interesting. Another reason for celebrating, when it says somewhat to embellish meals on Shabbat, what does it mean embellish? To like not do so much?
I think it's to do more, to like even
Embellish, to add more.
add more. So
Okay,
something
so to somewhat embellish the meals on Hanukkah. Other reasons for celebrating Hanukkah is that the construction of the Mishkan was completed during these days. You should tell your family story and of the miracles that were performed by our forefathers. So this is a very important part during these days. Okay, so this is a very important point, right? So in this regard, and we're gonna wait, hold on. I don't want to go so into this. I just don't want to learn it all out of here like this. I just want to. I will stop here. But the point is like this. The point is like this. So, wait. Let's skip the part. Okay. So this is a very, very important part, and this is a very, very, very big concept in terms of healing for African Americans specifically, the whole world. But there's certain things that the Torah asks us to do. When I hear that, I say, "Wow, that's like a huge point." Just like the same way you do. So sitting back and looking at the history of our parents, our grandparents, great grandparents, relatives, cousins, nieces, nephews, and thinking about different miracle stories that we've heard, right? Different things that happened, opportunities that opened up, how people met each other, all these things, we have to do it because one of the dynamics of denying people of having a history is that it makes it difficult for them to imagine the line of holiness that they come from. Because in reality, all the nations are holy, right?
Mm-hmm.
All 70 nations are holy, right? So the reality is the Jewish people are just there to show, hey, you guys are holy, just like we're holy, and we went through this journey for you guys. So you know that you're dope, that you know that you're with God, that you're under the rishus of Abraham Avinu, right? He's the father of all 70 nations. So it's saying like this, it's saying to really start now to start having conversations with our like, with our mothers and our fathers. I know your dad passed away in blessed memory, but even his relatives, and just finding out stories. And so when you're sitting down and you're lighting your candles and you sit there and you're thinking about those miracles from that light, you can start recounting those stories and you can say them over in front of the candles. Like so and so did this and so, happened, like that. Like I think about like even my parents, like they met in college and they met at a college conference, right? In Texas, right? A place for neither one of them were from Texas. Interesting, talking here in Texas. And I think to myself, well, what if they never met? Like, what if they like there's a canceled plane ticket and my dad couldn't fly out of Ohio because it was snowing or whatever? Who knows, right? Something happened, someone got sick, they couldn't leave. The whole sugya is a different sugya. So the time that they met is a huge miracle. It's a huge miracle, like for me as a human being, for the world and all the good that I've done and they've done, and my siblings. all the positive things in our shortcomings, struggling through those. But it's like those things are miracles, right? Or when we think about even the idea of different opportunities, financial opportunities that's come into our lives in different ways, different investments, different people died and came back, or the way a person died could also be something about it, what I mean? So it's a lot to be thankful for. It's a lot to think about, right? And starting to put together the stories from both sides, right? And making that into the Masura for that. And obviously you're going to talk about the great things and leaving Egypt and going to Mount Sinai and seeing Hashem and going into the land of Eretz Israel and this and the whole time, or the first time you reconnected to Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a miracle. That was a miracle time, right? Or the first day I walked into the Kabbalah Center. You know what I'm saying, bro? I remember. I'm not even. I'm gonna be real. When I first came to Kabbalah Center, I was like going because this girl that I met was just like really popping girl, and she was going there, and I was trying to chill with her. Like I wasn't really thinking about it, but then when I got there, I was like, dang, this is real. Like I was just like, dude, this is next level. They got this thing called the Zohar up in here. This is dope. They got girls up. This is next level, right? So I was like that. But I remember the first few times I went to Kabbalah just for like random lectures, bro. I blazed in the car before I went in there.
Right.
I'm just being real. Like I didn't even think about it. Like I'm looking at it like, hey, what is, hey, I'm just going to this place. They're saying some spirituality, and then to look back and think about where I was going into and how disconnected that was. Like how disconnect, bro. All the blazing you need is already in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That whole elevation was there. You with the Rav, dog. You with the Rav. He's there. Right. So it's just saying, but you don't know. You don't know.
Right.
And then you look back on it like, damn, man, I was in a low place, man. Like I was not where I'm at today, though. But that's how I started. That was like 2003. You know what I'm saying? So it's just saying that like that process is like we all go through that. But the point is just saying that was still a miracle. The fact that I met this girl and I was able, bro, it was imagine if I never went to the Kabbalah Center.
Right.
I don't even want to imagine that.
What your life would be like, who you would be.
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Yeah, without Torah, where are we?
Bro, we're not having this conversation. You know what I mean? So it's just saying that, like, but maybe it's reversed. Maybe you're here, I'm in LA. You know what I mean? But the point is just saying that. The point is just saying that that's the reality, right? And that's what we're dealing with here, is to really go back, because this is the key. The key is to be able to, once we make the connection to people in the west of Africa, right? We're talking about hundreds of years at this point, like 500-600, you know what I'm saying? So when we connect to that idea, now we can start seeing this process of Hashem creating us. But without having that starting point, right? It's very difficult to have that confidence to see a journey, right? And so we have to be able to see Jim Crow, segregation, slavery, all the things that white people did to us. We got to see that and be like, wow, we're really those people. Like we're really those people. They really trying to like kill us for no reason, dog. We ain't no threat.
Right.
We are no threat, dog.
They ain't tore this country up not one time, man.
We got the scripted, bro. They said Shimon and Levi and them could have when they went into Mitzrayim and Yosef was being hard on them. He said if they wanted to, they could have laid the whole city to rest. They never did it.
I remember reading that in the Midrash, man. It was like,
they never did it. They could have, bro. They could have took everybody out, including us. You know what I'm saying? And so the point is just saying, because they took out the was it Shem, the whole that whole they wiped them. So it's just saying that, like, so the point is just saying, so, but why do you hate these people so much? Why do you want to humiliate them? Why do you, even now, all these years, hundreds of years later, all these contributions we made, why are you so mad at us? Why are you so mad at us? Bro, when I saw that dude go after Deion's leg, Sanders' leg, bro, that was an angry white dude to me, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, a nobody pick,
just hating,
who just hating.
hating.
just hating that. And so I'm saying like, and with all that, it's like we dealing with that every day. What Sanders was going through, we dealing with that every day. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? And so why that? Because these fools are Amalek.
Mm-hmm.
They are Amalek. Because Amalek only hates for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
It hates for no reason, and not to the part they're willing to destroy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
To destroy themselves to be able to have an advantage over you. So it's just saying that like that's what a lot of white people are Amalek. And that's why they sat around and were lynching people. That's why you could do it. Where's the humanity at?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, bro, like I'm saying the same reason why we as black people have never went on mass killing attacks, right? Of innocent people ever in this country, right? Because we have humanity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a part, we're not.
Nothing. Yo. I mean, I'm the host. Can I log back in? Yeah, I'm a. Yo, Rob, I'm the host.
What happened? Was that me?
I don't know, but I was like, I'm the host. I was about to send you a message like, Rob, get back in.
I was like, wait, what happened? The whole thing shut down. Anyway, the point is just saying in closing, the point is just saying in closing that we got to look at our history. We have to be able to put it on the status. We have to start that mature because that's what makes the kids strong. It's not from reading the Bible. It's from knowing about my father and what he went through and what he overcame, and knowing my grandfather and what he went through and what he overcame, and my great grandfather and what he went through. Bro, our tradition like this. If he made some mistake, they'd be like, that nigga was nothing, man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And they'll strip him of any good that he did that could be passed on to the next generation,
Mm-hmm.
because that's how the Amalek system taught us to view ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the point. So by taking our history and reciting accounts, writing them out, talking about it, saying people's names, how they should be blessed in Shemaim, and making it like you and your wife are doing it together. She's talking about her history. She's talking about people from our past. Now you just brought it. Now it just came to life. Now it's not a Jewish ritual. It's a holy ritual, right? And so this is the idea, is to be able to live and to see that we are miracles and are happening around us all the time. So Hanukkah is a way for us to establish that for our community, right? But it starts with individuals. What are you thinking?
Nah, it's I was trying to think if we have enough time. Rob, how much time do you have?
I was going to cut it. What are you going to do?
No, because I haven't told you. It's just interesting. I haven't told you my full story, like the full part of it, like me being born on Hanukkah and like everything that you're bringing up about,
Well, I don't
bullying.
want you to necessarily. I don't want you to say it necessarily because it's live on the video. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, okay, yeah, oh, for sure,
yeah,
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 yeah, yeah,
hey, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
bro.
Hey,
And
Rob,
people watching it, bro. They're like,
they're gonna be like, hey,
what they
hey, this
talking
guy,
about?
this
What they
guy.
talking about?
Hey, Rob,
No,
now
no,
when
no.
I,
So what we'll do is, tomorrow we'll do story time.
hey, super early tomorrow, right? Cause Erev Shabbos, yeah.
Yeah, so we have Shabbos, so it's light. So we'll do a couple Balshentos for the Parsha, and then and then um and then um and then we'll do some story time, and it won't be recorded.
So okay, for one point though, I will say, uh, this is nice to leave on wax. I think, like with Amalek, we learned the gematria of Amalek is it has the same gematria as doubt in Hebrew. I think it's a fake. I think it's a fake. But they were only able to attack Bnei Israel when Israel had doubt. When that doubt came in, here comes Amalek. So
Yep.
it's like for us, building our communities, having that established connection to Hashem and having complete emunah, Amalek don't even exist. They can't even do nothing. They can't even touch us. They only able to touch us when we start, separating ourselves from Hashem. That's the only way they're here. So even now, the power that they have is only because we're not connected to Hashem. Going back to what we were talking about, like the civil rights movement. Like, yeah, we've done the fact that we're able to rise in this country and be, in abundance is amazing. It makes no sense. It's a miracle in itself. It makes absolutely no sense, right? The systemic, destruction of our people, the industrial prison complex, everything. We can just go into it. The fact that we're still here is amazing. But if we've never been able to reach that satisfaction, that complete potential, because we have to have the Torah. There is no ifs or buts about it. There is no, well, we can kind of get close. No, we have to have Torah. It can't be Christianity. It can't be Islam. It has to be the Torah. We are from that holy seed. That's the only way it's going to work.
But this is the thing on that. So I want to. That's a good point, right? So the thing is like this: the basis of the people who received the Torah on Mount Sinai were people who voluntarily went and did it. So it's something to be said about the people who are going to hold the Torah are going to be the ones who seek out teachers, who are going to be seeking out these types of things. You know what I'm saying? For me, back in the day, bro, I would just sit in mud to listen to Torah. I'll sit down in the mud. I'll sit in the mud, you teach, I'll listen, I'll go and take a shower afterwards, you know what I'm saying? And go on with my day. But that's how I got seduced by wisdom. Right? I was seduced by wisdom, right? And so anyway, so that's the point, right? So that's the point. The point is being able to say that, the people who want that light are going to go to that light and we'll help them. But we can't impose. But what you can do is create an environment where people can explore. And so that's really what we're in the business of. It's like creating an experience, right? Even a Kabbalah Center in a lot of ways, it was an experience. It wasn't a destination place. It was a transitional place. You know what I'm saying? Like some people went into this, some people went into that. So I think with our community, we want to just basically create environments that perpetuate the experience of Hebrew Israelite culture and prayers and Shabbat and education and books and content and food and vegan food and all these different types of things, for people who want to live in this like Hebrewic Israelite consciousness thing, right? It's a brand, right? And so, bro, I just wrote about it on Facebook. And the reason why I wrote about it on Facebook, because now it's like, no, I'll just bring it out. Hey, this is what we're doing. We need to raise money. That's where it's at. This is we're not hiding. There's no sneaking around. We are raising money, and we need a little money to get to more money. And the reason why, not because we need Bentleys. Bentleys is not going to fulfill anyone here. Nor is some house on the cliff that has 8 stories or golden sinks. Nothing like that. The fulfillment here is the dynamic of connecting to the light that comes from the effort. That's it. I mean, of course, Hashem's going to take care of you. You're going to have nice, whatever. Things are nice now. Okay, well, you need a bigger place. You need this. You need that. Okay, very nice. Okay, fine. But at the end of the day, I grew up in a place where a lot of people had resources. Almost all the schools weren't going to rehab. So that this whole illusion that the Satan plays, that if you have this money, no, bro, you don't need that. You need that peace of mind. You know what I'm saying? You want to have fulfillment. If you don't have fulfillment, it doesn't matter. You're gonna feel miserable with those millions, dog. Everything you buy is gonna feel miserable. It don't work.
Empty, man. It's like that. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if it worked, the righteous should go and rob banks.
Right.
Just go and get the money. So it's like that whole notion, and go and ask the biggest drug dealer. Go and ask the biggest rapper. Go and ask them, how much did the money do for them?
Right.
So it doesn't work. That's a lie. Just like if you get 30 degrees, it doesn't make you smarter. When you know who you are as a person, now you have wisdom.
Right.
There's a difference between intelligence and wisdom. Right? So we want wisdom, right? Intelligence, we were reading about that the other day. Intelligence will not get you nowhere. Intelligence will make you think you're smart. And then one day you'll go out on TV and say something and everyone hates you. They stripped you of this. They froze you. How yay?
Yeah.
Yay. Ye's a brilliant guy. He went out there. He got a few drinks. He started saying, I can say anti-Semitic stuff. And Adidas can't drop me. Right? And Dave Chappelle's like, they dropped him. You know what I mean? So it's just saying that It's just saying that. It's just saying that we don't want. We want to be wise, dog. I want to be fulfilled. I don't care if it's $10 in my pocket or 10 million. I want to be feel totally connected, totally on the right path in life, totally, connected. Now, do I want more money? Yeah, because I could give more charity, more mitzvahs. I could take care of my children. I could provide them more security, more mitzvahs. My wife, I could buy her a few more dresses. She feels more beautiful, more mitzvahs. So, but other than that, I'm good. I personally, I am good. As long as I have my Torah, my Shabbat, I could share, I could teach. I'm good. So, anyways, the point is just saying that we want to be able to look at our stories, and that's a game changer for us. That's a game changer. Going through our family's history and talk about the different miracles that we've had in our lineages, and making that part of the tradition that the kids know we like candles. Yeah, we think about the Maccabees. We may even read it from the book of Maccabees. You know what I'm saying? But the bottom line is this is a time for us to personalize this experience with God. Now, another point I want to make on this before we leave is that when you look at what's going on now, this time of Hanukkah, this time is like is almost like the beginning or the apex of the winter Celsius. Right? Later this month is going to be the time where the sun is furthest away from the moon. But on that 25th day is when it starts to come back closer every day, right? And then we see that because we go through Sagittarius, we go through Kislev, and then we go through Tevet, right? And then after Tevet, then we go into Tu Bishvat. Tu Bishvat, right? So and that's when the sap in the trees start to rejuvenate themselves. So we got to look at the shifting of nature right now. So right now, this is dark, not just physically, but even spiritually, right? And a lot of people during this time of the year do what? Commit suicide.
Yes, it's dark.
Right? Yeah, it's dark. But they they say, oh, because they didn't have anyone to go to for Thanksgiving and Christmas, so they got depressed and died. Invite guests. I mean, maybe there's an idea there too, based on what we just read. But the point is just saying that this is a time where there's an internal darkness going on right now, an eternal hopeless. Some people walk around, they don't see anything blossoming, nothing growing, everything. There's no the leaves on the tree. It's cold. Everyone's indoors. That psychologically is expressing the energy that's behind it, because it's not just what we see physically, it's the energy behind it. So by lighting these candles, we actually elevate the light that does exist, that's concealed right now. We have a way to fight against depression and hopelessness during this period. This is what Chanukah is. And that's why the telling of the stories are so important, because those stories show us the continuity in the light. It's not like I'm just jumping up and saying like, no, I'm alive, it's here. No, we're not saying that. What we're saying is the fact that whatever you're going through, your ancestors went through the same thing and they made it. Whatever you're dealing with, whatever obstacles ahead of you, don't worry. It's concealment. It's all going to work out.
Right.
It's just seasonal. In the same way things are not growing right now. They're still growing. It's just underground. It's just underground. Right? It's just underground. You can't see it. That's what God is trying to teach you. He's giving to us all the time. It's always working, even if we can't see it. We have entire times of the year that everything looks concealed. Why? Because he's teaching us that Torah. When you don't think I'm creating for you, I'm creating for you. When you think you're in a bad situation, I'm still building on you. When you've made mistakes, I'm going to instantly forgive you. All you have to do is just keep pushing forward, keep learning, keep growing, and I got you. The universe, they said, we just learned the thing. When a man goes on the path of purity, the universe comes to him.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the code.
Just
all
like the land met Yaakov. Yeah.
That's it. I just got to keep going forward. So we're going to prepare for this idea of Hanukkah, and we understand that this light is dispelling the illusion that God is not creating for us, that there isn't continuity, that there's these gaps. This season versus that season. No, it's not teaching us that. It's showing it's the same earth. It's just a different expression of it. Relax. Anyways, so we'll continue on tomorrow. We'll do story time by you. We won't record the first part of it, and then we'll do the weekly parsha with commentaries from the Baal Shem Tov.
Okay.
Yeah.
What time you want to jump on?
All right. Baruch atah Adonai